that you can fill time with.
What do you want to do? You don't
Okay,
have a
let's see.
plan for the rest of the show.
Show me the wiki feet. No, I was going to read some comments actually, but we'll look at your wiki feet instead. What the hell is going on with those tan lines?
I don't know. Here's my
you
wiki
used to
feet.
look like a little kid. Aw.
And so here's me without the oops. There it is.
Oh my God. Jeez.
Crazy. And hello,
Why
ladies.
is wiki feet
there it
still
is.
a thing? Why is it
I have a
still
I have a
thing?
really good rating on WikiFeet, by the way.
Yeah. Who has a higher rating, you or me?
I don't
Wait,
know.
how
Are
is
you
it
on
rated?
WikiFeet?
Oh, it's an
I
overall
got a
star
4.7 out of 5.
Are they rating the pictures or are they rating your feet?
My feet.
Hold on, John Idarola.
They're rating the feet.
Wiki feet. Oh, hold on. Let me go to my bookmark for John Idarola.
By the way, this is one time I looked.
Am I not on it?
You might not be on it. This might predate your fame. There's other ones, by the way. Like, that is horrifying.
That's just devastating. That's cancer, right there.
This is looking under my. I found all these socks just looking under my couch once.
That's, man. I also love that, like, that shows how there's this appetite for photos of your feet that you are not delivering to, that they're just like, here's socks and a tiny bit of his feet. That's all we've got, but we want it and we want more.
That's it.
Anyway.
Dudes.
Okay, let's thank some members before we close things out. Moon Dragon gifted 5 memberships. Thank you for that. That's still kind of who you are personality-wise, though. Anyway, let's see. June, member for 6 months, says, I missed most of the show because my phone lost signal. I will watch on the repeat. Well, I hope that you enjoy it then. TMHC, member for 3 months, says, they are the people who truly believe that dinosaurs and humans walk together. So yeah, now you know this sad information too. I'm okay with people believing that because it's objectively cooler than them not walking together.
Right.
I'll give them that one.
And I think a lot of the ambiguity lives right there. A lot of the sweet spot for people lives right there. Like, what's cool for me to believe? How much better does my life? How much better does my wife get? She gets no better. She's the best. Hear that, hun? How much better does my life get by accepting reality?
Yeah.
Not
In
much.
the case of dinosaurs and man, not much.
Yeah.
Not much.
I've spent hundreds of dollars in Jurassic Parks to prove that.
I would. Hunter, do we have time? Hunter Drake says, a member for 6 months. I had a t-shirt slogan for you guys. They are eating the people's donkeys. They are eating the donkeys of the people who live there. That's not bad. I kind of like it. And by the way, there were more comments defending donkeys as not being stupid. I get it. It's just a reference to Bill Hader from SNL, who used that line in one of my favorite SNL sketches ever. Anyway, with that said, Brett, thank you for being here. Great to have you on the show.
Great
Everyone, I'm going to be leading the first hour of the Young Turk Slayer on today. And not only that, I'm going to be there. Cenk is going to be there. Francesca Fiorentini is going to be there. Awesome. I love that combination, I'm going to say. I almost use a different word. I'm going to say combination. And so definitely watch. For now, though, stay safe out there. Stay sane out there. We'll see you soon.
Welcome to Indisputable. I'm Sharon Reed, and for Dr. Richie today, J.R. Jackson is our special guest co-host today. J.R., it's been a long time, I think, since you've graced us with your presence. I'm always honored to be on with you. Thoughtful commentator, wonderful father, husband too, I'm sure, and
What's
USC
going on?
supporter.
How you guys doing? It's lovely. I'm glad that I'm on with you, Sharon, because it's always fun times. You remember we used to do a few of these together here and there? I would go off on wild tangents about bears or something crazy, because watch list, although it's still around now, when we had the live version, it was always fun. So at least now you get the chance to or I get the chance to sabotage you instead of then me just
sabotaging there'll
my
be a
show.
competition for that one. What do you say we get after it? I wish we were, starting with something better. But here we go again, Louisiana, and the brutality going on in this southern state. You're not alone, but it's pretty disgusting. Update, charges dropped for the cops who killed Ronald Greene. There's a smiling face, better times. We have to remind you of the brutal incident. Look at this.
Warning, the video is disturbing.
I'm scared. I'm your brother. I'm scared.
Ronald Greene is pleading with Louisiana state police officers who wrestle him to the ground following a pursuit in May 2019.
Taser.
After excerpts were published by the Associated Press, state police released 40 minutes of body camera videos, which show Greene being tased and punched from several angles. Officers say he continued to resist. Greene can be heard repeatedly saying, "I'm sorry."
I'm sorry. Hey, sir. I'm sorry.
The FBI is investigating Greene's death and what led up to it. But on the tape, Trooper Chris Hollingsworth is heard explaining what happened.
I beat the ever-living out of him, choked him and everything else trying to get him under control. And the was still fighting, and we were still wrestling with him, trying to hold him down because he was spitting blood everywhere. And then all of a sudden, he just went limp.
Well, that's when he was killed. And you know exactly what happened there. So here we are again with the cover-up. That's my opinion. And maybe it's yours too, once you know all the details. We all saw it, shall we say? Update now, prosecutors last week dropped a negligent homicide charge against a Louisiana State Police trooper, one of the most serious counts remaining against several officers, originally charged in the violent death of Black motorist Ronald Greene after a high-speed car chase and crash following an attempted traffic stop in Monroe, Louisiana. It was 5 years ago, still waiting on justice here. That's Louisiana for you. To recap, after other officers tased Greene, pulled him out of his vehicle, put him in a chokehold, pepper sprayed him, beat him in May 2019, Master Trooper Corey York was seen on body cam video dragging Greene by the legs, shackles, and holding him prone on the roadside, stepping on his back, on his bloodied face as it was pressed into the asphalt. After Greene, 49-year-old barber went limp. The officers reportedly failed to render medical aid. He died on the way to the hospital. Atlanta Black Star filling us in on the horrific details here. And that's not the end of it. In their initial reports, troopers blamed Greene's death on the car crash. That's the lie. But emergency room staff said his extensive bodily and facial injuries and the minor damage to his SUV did not add up with that explanation, AKA lie. Law enforcement accounts were further called into question in 2021 when AP News obtained and published the graphic arrest video that officials had refused to release. An indictment by a state jury in December 2022 charged 5 officers with crimes including negligent homicide, obstruction, malfeasance. A 6th officer, considered the most culpable in the violent incident, died before he could face justice. Only York and a Union Parish Sheriff's Deputy, Christopher Harpin, now remain charged in the case, both with multiple felony malfeasance counts, making it unlikely that any law enforcement officers will face significant prison time. Well, that's Louisiana, right? You know, just another Black man dead. He deserved it, right? He ran. And so that gave him free license. God, it reminds me of slave movie. Trooper Chris Hollingsworth allegedly struck Greene multiple times in the head with a flashlight. Could be heard on body cam video saying that he beat the ever-living F out of Greene. He told investigators 16 months after the incident that he did so because he was scared, according to audio of the police interview. He could have done anything once my hold was broke off him. That's why I struck him, he told investigators. Hollingsworth died in a high-speed single-vehicle crash in 2020, hours after he learned that he would be fired for his misconduct. I did hear someone saying they were scared, but it wasn't the now deceased accused trooper. Furious Mona Hardin, Greene's mother, said this whole thing started with a lie and a cover-up, and it's going to end the same way about the latest drop charge. You have so much evidence, yet no one wants to be the one pointing the finger against killer cops. That's what she said, holding back her tears. They killed my son, and no one gives a rat's ass. Hardin, whose family filed a wrongful death lawsuit against state police in 2020, has spent the past 5 years traveling across Louisiana and to Washington, D.C. to advocate for justice in her son's death, all the while vowing not to bury his ashes until she gets it. To loving mother, her pain will never go away. In a statement, Union Parish District Attorney John Belton said that even though a grand jury indicted York for negligent homicide, the evidence, quote, does not meet the beyond a reasonable doubt standard necessary to secure a conviction at trial. Belton also dropped a malfeasance count against York, charging him with pepper spraying Greene after he was handcuffed, allegation that York's attorney Mike Small called unfounded and unsupported. JR, I want you to weigh in before we get the rest of the details going here. I am incensed.
Okay. So this is the story that happened a couple of years ago, I believe. I can't remember the exact time frame of it, if we went to that point first. But I just want to recap it from the beginning, from the energy of the officer that was a part of this and was recapping, that fight that he just had. And how he went limp, and I hit him with this, and I hit him with that, and that son bitch, and all this that he was going through. I have a family member that works in emergency situations in healthcare. She recently told us that they lost a patient as they were trying for a very long time to resuscitate and revive and everything. And she was texting with us about how it broke her up, because it's like one of the first ones that's happened to with her on. And when you see someone pass away, die in front of you, it kind of does something to you if you have some connection to humanity and a soul, let alone when you're the cause of it, violently and brutally and repeatedly, along with your gang members, to do something like this. And your energy after it has this like jazzed feeling as if you just made a hit on a football field. That's the energy that came with this. So why would we believe that they have any care for the folks that they're supposed to be protecting, serving? If you think you're trying to get this guy off the streets because he's hurting someone else, how does this lead you to that kind of conclusion and have that energy behind it? Yeah, we did this, we got that. It's like a game to him, or a pursuit, a hunt even. And that was the exciting part for him. It was almost a braggadocious type of energy that I heard coming from the guy saying this. And then to add all this extra insult to the murder of this woman's son and his family member, it was then to be hidden with body cam evidence, try and talk about whatever it is that they claimed had happened so they could continue down the same path of really not giving a damn about even the effects his family has to deal with after they decided to do this and change all these folks' lives. So the simple phrase of Black Lives Matter, really anyone's lives matter. We're seeing it overseas with genocide happening in Gaza, and now this war spreading to other places. The reason we can accept stuff like this is because they have to be considered less than human. It's the tradition of this country. We've deemed folks that looked a lot like his ancestors to be less than human. It was constant. It was in legislation. The way folks aren't really full human beings, and this is just a tradition of that same type of energy. So if you look at it in the terms of the way these guys pursued him, murdered him, and then hid it and covered up, not giving a damn about his mother and how she needs to see some justice for her son. After you go through all of that, how is it that you can get offended when someone says, listen, maybe we need to, even as far as people hating the term, defund police departments that murder citizens? You're offended by that? You're offended by the reaction to them murdering someone, covering it up, acting like it's a game, a hunt, but you're not offended by the action that caused someone to say, I think we need to stop this before the next person dies. And before Ronald was murdered, there was other folks that were murdered similar ways in the streets. And then when someone wanted to change it, or when you have advocates coming out wanting to change the way we do this, you get offended and say that they're anti-American. It's all a matter of how they're going to pose this, how they're going to put it in front of us and say the good guys support murder, police murder, and the bad guys are against it. Let's not fall for that BS. Stop falling for it. You can be resolved in your stance that this is a human being, and when these folks murdered him, it's okay to be against that. We're in an upside down world where if you're for human life, that you're a bad guy. And it's one of the most tiring things that we go through. So last thing, Sharon, I know I've been going for a while, but justice for the family, justice for his mother. So what is she supposed to feel? There was this execution in Missouri just a week ago because, you know, they had this guy up on these charges, and as those things, as those facts and evidence and even victims' families' opinion on it changed, they continued on with it. Why?
District attorney too.
Why?
Yep.
Yeah, the district attorney.
He said,
why?
stop this.
Is this a crime deterrent? They're looking for crime deterrent by killing people, executing them in our death row system, but there's no accountability for the people that do other kinds of murders as long as they're endorsed by our governments in doing so. Just think about how upside down all that is.
Who humanized Ronald Greene? His mother. That was it, JR. His mother was the only one that humanized him, JR. That was it.
Yeah.
That's it. Last October, Belton agreed to drop charges of obstruction of justice and malfeasance against the ranking trooper at the scene, Lieutenant John Clary, in exchange for his cooperation, reported NOLA.com. Clay was accused of keeping the body cam video of the arrest a secret from investigators for nearly 2 years after the incident. District judge also tossed charges against former trooper Dakota DeMoss, former Captain John Peters, the troop leader. So this is what I call a conspiracy. I want you to weigh in. I call it a conspiracy. I say it's ripe for racketeering charges. This is how you prosecute a mob, and this is mafiosa behavior. We're not, I don't want to call them troopers. I don't want to call them, officers. This has got to stop. This is an angry, violent, laying in wait gang for a Black person to sometimes color outside the lines. He sped off instead of stopping. Given everything we know about what happens to Black men too often in this country when they are stopped by the police, I can make a good, credible argument about why you might want to run away from these good old boys, okay? And sometimes they don't color outside the lines at all, but this is their duty in that uniform because they are acting in a way that is domestic terrorism. I'll give you the last word.
Yeah. Again, so even when it comes to the way that you change it, because that's really the bottom line before the next one happens. It's just like school shootings and general mass shootings in general. If legislation, laws, changes to the way we do things are put into place, the point is to prevent another one from happening because we presumably care about someone else's life, the next person that could potentially be living a long, happy life and maybe contribute to their family and society. Maybe you want to prevent it. And if you do nothing about it, all it shows is you have zero interest in preventing it happening again because you didn't care about it this time. And it's out of our hands because we're not the ones in positions of power to change these things. But if you advocate for it, there's a way they can say that you're a pariah in society and you shouldn't have any say in this. I mean, they'll go that route, but that's just general a-hole bully behavior because you think you have more power than the citizens that you're assaulting and murdering.
Too many a-holes, okay? There's a lot of them out there, unfortunately. This is Indisputable. Sharon Reed in for Dr. Rashad Ritchie alongside the one and only J.R. Jackson. We're right back.
Hey everyone, Matteo Scarapo here, author of Black Buck, which is Shop TYT's first fiction book ever. I'm honored. So, Black Buck is about a young man named Darren who's living in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. He lives with his mom, he has his girlfriend, he has his best friend, he has his neighborhood, and his neighborhood has him. Darren's also working at a Starbucks in Midtown Manhattan. And one day, this man, who's real suave and good looking, comes in and asks Darren to give him his regular. But for some reason, Darren says no. This man named Rhett Daniels, who's the CEO of a startup called Someone, located on the 36th floor of the same building, is impressed. And he invites Darren upstairs, and then he extends an offer to join his elite sales team. Darren reluctantly joins, and he soon realizes that he's not the only black salesperson there. He's the only black person in the entire company. So he goes through hell and back in order to make it to the top. And once there, he has status, money, power, but he says, you know what? I don't like being the token black guy. So he hatches a plan to help other people of color infiltrate America's tech startup sales teams, redefining what it means to be a minority in the workplace. This book definitely, if you couldn't tell, touches on many things that are relevant to this moment that we're all living in right now, but it's also connected to the many moments in history that have come before today. I hope that you read it, I hope that you enjoy it, and if you want to order a copy, go to shoptyt.com. Thank you, be well, and happy 2021.
Thank you for being members, by the way, of either TDR or of TYT. We really appreciate it. We could not do this, without you. Would I still be here without you? That is an open question.
I really love what y'all do on the Young Turks, man, and it's a very refreshing, voice. Y'all don't lean to one side. I tell people all the time, if you want to go really hear what's going on honestly in our society, you should tune in to the Young Turks.
Thank you, Charlemagne. We appreciate that.
That's awesome. Really appreciate it, brother.
The rest of the news media says you should not fight for positive change. If you do, you're not really a reporter or a journalist, because reporters and journalists don't care what happens. I don't agree. That's not written anywhere. That's not a law. It's just a rule that they invented so that reporters didn't actually challenge the people that are in power. Well, we don't agree with that. We think we should challenge the people in power, that actually makes you a better journalist, not a worse one.
Hi, I'm John, and I'm new to TikTok, but about 3 years ago, I started my daily political news show, The Damage Report, because I noticed this trend where every morning I was waking up to this tsunami of news that was just generally dreadful and horrifying and shocking, and I thought that if I could spend my time helping people to navigate this, serving as a bit of a life raft, pointing out which news is important and why, there are worse ways to spend your day. We're not an average news show, and we don't want our TikTok presence to be average either, so feel free to let us know what you'd like us to do on the platform, and maybe give us a follow at The Damage Report.
All right, Amazon Prime members, here's how you can subscribe for free on Twitch. Start by linking your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, and then click that little subscribe or resubscribe button below the stream on Twitch. Scroll down and select the subscribe free with Prime button, and then you're finished. Close out immediately and share your little subscription alert with the chat. Send a cute message along with it, and bathe in the sweet, twitchy, Bezos-funded love. Hashtag Bezos Bucks.
Welcome back to Indisputable. Sharon Reed alongside J.R. Jackson. That's right. Dr. Richie has the J off. He's earned that. And JR, it is a treat because I did used to join you a little bit. I thought maybe you just said, you know what, she's too out there and I don't want her back on my show. The watch list, no more for her. But apparently that was not the case. We're back together again.
Problem is you're way too polished for the randomness of the show that I was running around.
Now the people at home don't know what you're talking about because they watched me a number of times fill in on Indisputable, baby. Let's get to some of the comments because we love our TYT family. Lynn, I love Lynn. I don't think I've ever disagreed with you, Lynn. What a treat. JR joined Sharon. I guess that makes this a big news Friday.
I've never disagreed with her either, apparently.
Right, Lynn is all right. I love her. And had I known earlier, because this was the last minute, but you know, JR can fill in no matter when, I would have worn red because I know you love USC. One of my good friends, his daughter just ran track. She's just started track there.
Really?
I mean, she's going to school there and running track.
Yeah, I ran track at SC.
Did you now?
Great program. Love it.
Oh, it's a great program. Man, it's so polished. But let's get to Lynn's comment. Well, we got it, right? She loves JR and she loves us together. And yes, Lynn, we will crown this Big News Friday. I'm sure the team is getting together a nice big stinger and a graphic for that. We'll probably have that for you when we come
back
from commercials.
John.
Yeah, that's right. We got to borrow it. Greetings and salutations, anti-Karens. We're going to get to them in a little bit, Galfar says. And let's see. There's a few others that I do want to get to from our extensive family here. Perry Anderson, TYT member, says, no charges after beating someone to death. I see. And it really is that flip. Ronald Greene died how many years ago? What are we working on, 4 or 5 years now? And still no charges. We saw on camera, they tried to cover it up, hide the body cam. What did they delete is what I'm asking. And I think that's a fair question after everything that went down there. Louisiana troopers, more charges dropped. Someone needs to see how much the local FYOP or cop union gave to the campaign. I believe they're talking about the district attorney there. Why go to a grand jury if you're just going to drop the charges? The people don't know any better. We got this. Mob behavior. It is mob behavior. And it really, the federal government has to step in, okay? But they can't even prosecute 45, can they? Look how long it took just to, now they're scrambling and, oh, we did a great thing. All these years later, we're getting ready to come up on the anniversary of January 6th, and you still, and then the documents he stole, that's another case. But I just, stop saying that, no one can escape justice for all America. It's not true. We have not seen justice for Ronald Greene. We haven't. And Donald Trump is still kind of just walking around and calling people stupid, even though he's convicted on 34 counts, sentencing delayed. And then there's the other trials that haven't even started yet. The ones where he tried to steal the election or perpetrate treason, breaking into the Capitol. He encouraged people to, it's funny, right? If somebody handed you this script where you are in Hollywood, JR, would you say, this is too corny, I can't greenlight this? Or would you think that, oh, this is good?
Yeah, the audience isn't going to buy this story. Like, we need to have someone believable. I mean, sure, powerful people get off all the time, but then maybe after this many different things that I guess coincidentally all come together behind one guy and his criminality, eventually people will go, okay, this movie's kind of tired. I don't think I'm going to watch this one anymore.
And the dialogue. Do you have another word besides stupid? You keep writing the same words. This main villain is spewing at people. It's just
you know what I like to do, Sharon? The last thing,
that?
I guess, on Trump. I watch a lot of his speeches. And when I see some of the off the wall things he says or insults, and I look and glance at the teleprompter, you can tell when he's not on teleprompter and when he is.
I saw that.
45% of the time he's reading those insults from a teleprompter.
This is crazy. I happened to tune into something the other day and I was thinking the same thing. I wonder if that's written on prompter. And he did glance at the prompter. This might have been the day he was calling for a national day of bludgeoning or something or another, where he wanted everybody beat up like they do down in Louisiana, apparently the troopers. Wow. You could be a profiler. Let's get some more intel on this one and neutralize his ass. Okay, we're going to get back to our next story. Beloved character. He played so many of them, right? John Amos, we lost him just recently, right? And now today, the family is dropping a major bombshell regarding his death. What happened here to this beloved actor and family man? Family of John Amos is outraged with actor's son, Casey. Seen there, they claim that he hid the actor's death, secretly cremated him amid explosive family feud. Family is not ruling out foul play. Hell of an accusation here. TMZ reporting that Amos died in Inglewood Hospital from congestive heart failure. According to his death certificate, no autopsy performed on Amos's body, and he was cremated 9 days later, August 30th. KC, who allegedly has possession of his father's ashes, waited nearly 6 weeks to publicly announce his father's passing, releasing a statement on October 1st. And a Black Star with the details here. Amos's daughter has a lot to say. She posted this to Instagram. I'm without words. Our family has received the heartbreaking news that my dad, John Allen Amos Jr., transitioned on August 21st. We're devastated, left with many questions about how this happened 45 days ago, learning about it through the media like so many of you. This should be a time of honoring and celebrating his life, yet we are struggling to navigate the wave of emotions and uncertainty surrounding his passing. Still, there is some semblance of peace in knowing my father is finally free. My family and I deeply appreciate the outpouring of love, calls, texts. Please continue to hold our family in your thoughts and prayers. Thank you. Now, Shannon later made some jarring allegations about her father's last few hours in her Instagram story, noting, quote, "The truth will reveal itself." In another story she posted, "Someone was in the ER the night my father died and pretended to be his daughter. I'm his only daughter." We believe it was Belinda Foster, the woman also posing as his publicist. Reports of bad blood between Casey and Shannon have been circulating for years. June 2023. Shannon claimed John Amos was a victim of elder abuse and financial exploitation at the hands of her brother. John denied the allegations, and a Los Angeles Police Department investigation found no evidence of abuse. The Coming to America cast member spoke about the conflict among his lineage during a December 2023 interview with People. In it, John is quoted saying he believes his estranged daughter, Shannon, has taken advantage of him financially and emotionally. Those comments reportedly took place during a June 2023 phone call between the actor and his lawyers. In response to the mistreatment accusation, Shannon told the outlet, "My brother has been brainwashing him." John's goddaughter, Amy Gowdy, claimed the Roots star told her he did not remember making those remarks about his daughter. Amy Gowdy also recently addressed finding out about John Amos, his passing, away from the media and Casey's alleged deceitfulness. In an October 1st dated Instagram post, she declared Casey will rot for this. Additionally, Gowdy shared Instagram story with a caption that read, "John Amos died August 21st, and Casey did not tell anyone, not John's daughter or granddaughter, not his manager, no one. The level of evil is beyond words." Amos's goddaughter also wrote, "Our father suffered from dementia, and Casey often gave John verbal prompts to create a narrative on social media that was not reflective of the truth. We were deeply concerned that our father may have been neglected and isolated during his final days, as we received photos from concerned neighbors and a medical professional." Gowdy wrote in a Facebook statement on behalf of the family. As the statement concludes, it ends on an even more shocking note, the first being the family believed that John was cremated without their knowledge at Casey's behest to alter potential wills and collect life insurance or other benefits. They cite John's son's previous struggles with mental health, addiction, prior arrest as the reason for their logic. The second concern is that at this juncture, the family has refused to rule out the possibility of foul play. Citing Amos's alleged spokespersons, Eugene Brummer and Belinda Foster. as people who may have taken advantage of the actor's vulnerability in his ailing state. The root filling in those details. The family's still processing. They're trying to figure out how this all happened. I hate to see families go through this, particularly ones we don't know, but we feel like we do. He was in our homes for so many decades, JR, but James Brown's family went through this. Others. It's sad, it's shameful. I don't know what to believe, but to not find out your father is dead for many, August 21st to October 1st, that's horrible, yes?
You got a month and a half almost. So this is one of those things, and I just recently heard about this, obviously, as well as everyone else was. But the first thing I thought of, I was like, but wait a second, because I follow Casey on social media, his son, where all the accusations from his family members are coming from. And I remember thinking, but I remember seeing their little, shorts or their stories they would do, and they seemed like they were having the best time. I was like, I'm glad John, in his older years, again, as you said, we feel like we know folks that we've watched so much of their work for most of our lives. And I was like, I'm glad he's comfortable. His son looks like he's got him. He's taking care of him. They're actually having fun and still showing the funny things between them. He would recite some lines from some of our favorite movies. Things like that would happen. So when you see these types of accusations, I figure you go straight to, well, that's not what I saw. And maybe that when we start to question, maybe that's why that's not what I saw. But again, since none of us were there, we're left with trying to hear what family members say versus one family member that's catching all these accusations. But again, I just yesterday, I heard that I believe it was Shannon, his daughter, went on a radio show to talk about all the details of what it is that she's trying to get out there. And many of the stuff that's also been detailed here that you went through. But one of the main things she mentioned, I believe a couple of times, was no one else in the family is going to side with what Casey is saying and doing. And she even attributed to, as you mentioned also as well, addiction issues, mental health issues. And those are drivers many times in which you will see in someone whose name is not John Amos, who's, John Smith, and we don't know him, and is being abused potentially by a family member, and no one ever really knew what happened, and life insurance policies are out, and then cremation happens. It's almost like a standard script to the way things like this can happen and where cover-ups do come from. So where the source of that comes, she mentioned potentially how he's upset because his father's work took him away from him for most of his life or earlier on in his life. There's so many of these factors that honestly is what's sad about it. We shouldn't know about. We should know the issues that John was going through in his later years, or that his son potentially has addiction issues, maybe born from other things that he resents. All this stuff, it only builds us having to then speculate and wonder and then be sad and then angry and take sides. And man, all this over potentially just money, which we assume he had enough of maybe throughout the work that he did, and which is, the leads to those accusations of financial manipulation. Man, I just wish it didn't have to happen this way. I mean, look, who else did we just lose? They always say there's like, surprising or famous deaths. Yeah,
Dikembe Mutombo, my classmate.
Yeah,
just a beautiful spirit. And his family, look what happened. Listen, Dikembe was diagnosed in late 2022, and you did not hear much from him. He hunkered down with his family and his loved ones. And I want to believe that he had a peaceful transition with the people he loved the most and who loved him around him. He was a man of faith. I wish that for everyone. You're allowed to make mistakes as a human being, but I don't understand, JR. I just hope that when that time comes, you would hope that a family would say, forget that we've been feuding, sis, our whole lives. I want you to have a say in this. I want us to come together. Just because you had drug addiction or whatever at one point in your life doesn't mean you've always got to be pegged with that. But the behavior here, if it's true, not telling your family, cremation, something about a will being changed, not coming together, this is gut-wrenching. I know one thing for sure, having just some normalcy in my heart. And no, I never met him. John Amos could never have wanted this.
Yeah. And even the accusations are saying that his daughter's the one. Like, We also, this was mentioned really fast, my last thought. He may have even still been trying to protect his kid. Because again, even if the addiction accusations are correct, if you see your kid going through it and say he's 35 years old, you still see him as a kid.
Yeah.
It's our ages stay the same distance from each other. So he's like, I'm going to protect my son. I don't care. I'll protect him with my life. And that's another part of the sad aspects of
It
this.
is. We wish him well, and we wish him to be able to rest easy. I still call my father daddy, and I am approaching 35 again. I'll just say that. maybe I'm not.
Happy 35th birthday, Sharon.
Well, I said approaching. Not quite. But that's okay. Not about me. We're going to move on to this one now, JR. Nevada, GOP candidate caught on tape bashing Black voters. You don't have anybody else to pick on? I think, you know how things, they're in vogue sometimes and they fall out of favor? You know, people said, you know, you got dissed, and then that faded away, right? They come up with different names and sayings throughout time. But this, this thing about disrespecting Black people, I guess, never gets old. It must never get old in America. It's American. It's as American as the anthem, I guess. John Lee, running against Congressional Black Caucus Chair Stephen Horsford, says he's not worried about Black people in his bid for Congress. Well, just play it.
Anyway, so there's never communication. His office is in my building. I rented it to the congressional office building. Whoever's a congressman goes to that building, North Las Vegas. Never comes to the office, never in town. He doesn't live here. He doesn't do anything. They made him sheriff of the Black Caucus. Whoop-de-doo. I'm from North Las Vegas. I'm not worried about Black people. You know.
Whoop-de-doo. Speaking of things that should have been retired, you're dating yourself, brother. Okay. As we said, John Lee running against Congressional Black Caucus Chair Stephen Horsford in Nevada. Just to clarify what was said in that recording of Nevada GOP candidate Lee. What are you smiling about? They made him chair of the Black Caucus. Whoop-de-doo, Lee said last Monday at a campaign meet and greet. I'm from North Las Vegas. I'm not worried about Black people, you know? Huffington Post with that. Lee, who is white, went on to attack the Congressional Black Caucus for only having Democratic members. Caucus is officially nonpartisan, but has only had a handful of GOP lawmakers as members since it formed in 1971. Well, you might be case in point as to why, Mr. Lee. Currently has 60 members, all of whom are Democrats. It does not include 5 Black Republicans, Lee said. So they're the most racist people in the world, GOP congressional hopeful said. They have one objective, and that is for self-domination in Congress. Will you look at the makeup of Congress and what we've lived through for the better part of a decade now with obstructionists and pledging to their dear leader? And this is what we're talking about? Mr. Lee, come on now. So the Nevada Republican has made other offensive comments, we should tell you, about the Congressional Black Caucus. He called the group stupid in November. In August, he compared it to having a blonde-haired caucus. What the Republicans might have, I don't know, but we should get the team to maybe get a group picture, and it could be an all-blonde caucus, okay, on the other side. This is a buffoon, in my view, JR. Maybe that's dumbing it down too much, but I just find these rule over a group of people who come in different forms. I don't know why you would alienate them. Your turn.
Well, the reason for alienation is, again, we're back to the worth of folks. It's, if you want to disconnect our history from our current, you're just lying to yourself. In fact, there's a reason why that many, again, Congress people, senators, governors, presidential candidates, all the way up to Nikki Haley at one point, want to erase the history of the country. If you erase the history of what we've been through in the country, you can ignore how it's connected to now today. So yeah, there's this idea of total dominance from the Congressional Black Caucus. Right before, or maybe in other points, he decides he wants a blonde-haired caucus, or whatever the hell he called it. What, a blonde-haired caucus. What would you call that? Or what would you call, as you said, the history of our congressional history and the laws and legislation that's come through that was completely exclusionary towards those same folks? You know, there's a reason why there's Black History Month. There's a reason why there's the Congressional Black Caucus, because no one cared before. And the lack of representation is that weird thing that we like to throw around called anti-American. That is, unless you think Black folks don't deserve to have any say in their America. Maybe that's what you're trying to say. This is why I always say, if somebody's saying something crazy and off the wall and giving their bigoted opinions, ask them, so what does that mean? Just let them continue on. So we got too many Black folks. They never had a Republican, or they don't have enough Black Republicans in the Congressional Black Caucus. Ask them, well, why is that? As if you're actually curious. Why? Why would that be? You know, at one point, just recently, the representative he's running against, Stephen Horsford, he confronted Clay Higgins because he was calling Haitian migrants, Haitian immigrants, people that are in the country legally, calling them thugs, animals, garbage, rapists, murderers, all the same stuff that oddly this one guy who's running for president again keeps saying. So it looks like there's a coalition of bigoted racist people who want to take us back to the same things that they don't like to admit we've already been through. So is this a new thing? Are we supposed to embrace new racism, or can we now connect it and say, you guys just want to bring back the same old stuff? By the way, so as I mentioned, Horsford confronted Clay Higgins about this. Is that another offensive thing that he shouldn't have done? Allow this guy to come around, and he tried to censor him, to talk any kind of way outside of his head about, again, voters in this country. Do you think that Black folks shouldn't have a say? Just,
I can
it
answer
all
that.
connects. Just ask them enough questions and they might reveal themselves, unless they're as big as cowards as John Lee.
I'm going to try your approach, because yes, they think that Black people don't deserve a say, or frankly, regular folks, Joe Blow, blue collar, however you want to frame it. But Black people, of course, do not deserve a say. And you mentioned thug, rapist, violent, you know, the things that Donald Trump is spewing, all the things that if you just held a mirror up to him, just a mirror, okay? Sexual assault, that's you. Spurring violence, that's you. Thug. You called up the Georgia Secretary of State and tried to shake him down for 11,000 some votes, okay? And sent
weird.
Weird. So let's not normalize this nonsense. This is indisputable. Dr. Rashad Ritchie. Doc has a day off. We are treated with J.R. Jackson here. He loves USC. He loves his family. Okay. And he's been at TYT how long, JR?
Oh,
almost quarter century.
I mean,
this
officially when I started interning around 2001 or 2, geez.
Well, all of it. I want you to put all of it in there. It's about a quarter century. And you still look like a little baby.
You should see the baby. The baby in 2001 is a lot less gray than this old man here.
Well, we'll maybe have a picture when we come back. This is indisputable. Much more to come.
Now I'm going to do something very different here and read some 1-star reviews of the Young Turks on Apple Podcasts. Donnie Franchise said, pretty much it's like listening to a trash compactor. Someone else said, negative, anti-American propaganda. And others said, out of context, misquotes, typical leftists who are afraid to debate, just smear. These two would be perfect for CNN or MSLSD. Well, Donnie, you might have a point, because I feel like a trash compactor right now after taking in all those garbage reviews. But thanks for listening anyway. We are, in fact, unapologetically progressive. And if you're not ready for bold commentary, then we're not the show for you. On the Young Turks, we speak up about the issues that matter, and we want to make positive change happen. And now here's why we actually do the show. Mariel Morales said, found this podcast from the True Crime Podcast, Fruit Loops, and other great progressive podcasts. I've become an instant fan of the Young Turks. Great conversation, great takes, very well composed, factual podcast, very informative. Love to hear that. Z55 said, it's a joy to experience such awareness and intelligence from fascinating people. And Anna is gorgeous and brilliant. Apparently I'm just fascinating, but I'll take it. Paul for Progress said, news well delivered. Appreciate it. KOOK said, Democrats and Republicans are fair game for TYT, and if Anna or Cenk provide disinformation about anything, they will admit they made a mistake and correct it. We appreciate you noticing that we are honest. To people who actually listen to the substance of the show, thank you. Your listenership supports what we do. Leave a 5-star rating for the Young Turks on Apple Podcasts. Let's take the ratings back from the trolls. Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. Here at TYT, we understand this. That's why we're not gonna price gouge you or use inflation as an excuse to raise our prices. A TYT membership is not your typical subscription, but basic membership is still just $4.99. So what do you get for that price? For starters, you're getting exclusive programming, unique, exclusive designs from Shop TYT, access to a members-only chat, giveaways, emojis, and so many other amazing perks. But most importantly, you're helping to make an impact. As a TYT member, you not only help us do the shows every day, but you drive real positive change in the process. In 2017, we helped to start Justice Democrats right here on TYT. That's a group that got a dozen progressives elected into Congress. That's amazing, you did that. Your support also funds TYT's very own investigative reporting. Just recently, our reporters exposed the Fellowship Foundation and pressured lawmakers into boycotting that bigoted event. Isn't that amazing? We raised over $30,000 for Jackson, Mississippi, and delivered clean water to thousands of people in need. Our petitions, polls, and community of activists help keep the corruption of Washington in check. That's the impact of what just $4.99 a month from our members can do, and we're just getting started. Positive change doesn't occur overnight, but with your contribution, we can make it happen together. You know that viral video you saw of me? First of all, it's bull. Second of all, they got it from a snippet of the live show. You should check out the live show so you see the full context of everything we say. Weekdays, 6 o'clock Eastern, Young Turks on YouTube or wherever you get TYT.
The support we receive from members is the backbone of our movement to drive positive change. We need viewers like you to keep moving forward. Visit tyt.com/team and join our movement.
Welcome back to Indisputable. Doc has the day off. Let's get to some of your comments. TYT members first. JMC says, well, they love you, JR. Agree with just about everything you said. I agree with JR totally, except that hat. Go Yankees.
Well, the good news is the Yankee fans don't have to have any issues with the Dodgers because they're not going to make it far enough to see us.
Let's not antagonize. I know you like to do that. Lynn is also calling you out, and she's a great lady, but go Padres. Okay,
see, that's even worse.
I'm with Lynn. I don't know a thing about baseball, but just to root against you.
I'm actually okay for the Yankees making it. They wouldn't have to deal with them yet, but Padres, that's an issue. Sorry, it's an issue.
He said Padres, okay? And I'm a big Padres fan. About the Nevada GOP candidate caught on tape bashing black voters. Lynn has this to say, GOP candidate who is racist and sexist? Surprising, huh? Yeah, I guess if you live under a rock, you're right. So dude comes right out and says he doesn't care about 11.5% of his constituents. Dragon says. That's what I'm saying. It's just stupid, okay? If you want to win, then let's go for it, okay? You stupid. Would Steph Curry just stop at half court and take all half court shots? Well, I believe he'd probably make most of them. Right, he probably could. But not you, Mr. Lee. Okay, this is ridiculous. It's Dodo head. Okay, let's, speaking of dodos, these people, I believe they multiply, and that's the only way to say it. They're everywhere, and they double down on their nonsense too, swearing they did something and swearing they're right, don't they? You get this segment. It's named after you. You probably think it's something good that your name isn't liked. I wish a Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
I feel free! Back off!
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
No, you're the manager right now. I want somebody else to. I want somebody. No, you're not the manager to report to. Who do you report to?
You can leave.
No, as I said, I want somebody to report to other than you.
No, you can leave.
No, I want that.
Okay,
Give me that
leave,
information.
I'm gonna call the cops.
Just give me that information.
If you're not gonna leave, I'm gonna call the cops.
Give me that information. Leave.
Are you gonna leave or am I gonna call the cops? I'm giving you.
Give me the information.
Okay, come on.
What's your name?
Do you want me to call them right now? I'm giving you one last chance.
What's your name? Mom, we don't need the cops. What is your name? Where you are right now. I'll get it. There. Whoa.
No, you're good, man. I understand.
So in this case, we have a shoeless mama, Karen, inside Wendy's, harassing the store manager. She wants the information. I mean, you know the saying, no shoes, no shirt, no service. But that Karen's, they make their own rules. So she's going to come in there, balls of her feet, filthy, into the restaurant demanding answers. According to the poster, I just look at her. Look at her. She means business. Who claimed to be the manager recording the incident. Backstory, this lady came into the store with her two sons, both wearing no shoes, socks, or shirt. They were running around the store. I kindly asked her if she could have them put something on or just chill out. And she did not like that. That is, when she started yelling and going crazy. Enjoy. Ma'am, get the Frosty and get out. Why are you doing this? I believe the manager's account, that's all that went down here. Balls of her feet, absolutely filthy, JR. And she's letting her little ones just run wild through Wendy's. Leave.
I got to be honest. I at least expected the extra pickles to not be on the Dave's double for her to have this kind of reaction. I didn't think it was just coming in again. And if we're to believe the poster who said this, I believe he said he's also the manager. I was looking for the reason. I hate fast food places, partially because of things like when it comes to service, or my kid's a picky eater and he doesn't want the lettuce, but he wants the one slice of cheese instead of two or something. And I'm like, well, they're not going to get it right, kid, because this job isn't worth it for them. So to a degree, I've been completely frustrated in many customer service situations. I couldn't find myself in a situation where I was ready to scream. I even wanted the manager one time, but it's okay because I probably would have forgotten about it later. So I understand the frustration if there was something wrong, but there has become a point where you're like, let me move on to the next spot, which honestly, I believe this is one of those potentially, who knows, I'm not a doctor or a good assessor of people's drug use, but it seemed like she must have been a little bit hopped up on something. And that was the driving factor. And her kid probably knew it, which again is probably one of the worst things you have to deal with, is your kid having to restrain or try to chill you out, especially since the kid only had some Docker shorts on too.
Madam, can we get you some extra garments for your children? And you're right. We don't know if she was struggling with something or not, but I do know I've been to Wendy's, and in the past, I've seen people kind of stumble in very hangry, if you know what I mean, after perhaps enjoying themselves a little bit. They was hungry, didn't even want to wait in line. And that's the vibe I got from her, okay? I feel sorry for the kids, but Mama Karen, please she should be banned from Wendy's.
I tell you what, Wendy's fries and a strawberry frosty may hit different after, I guess, some recreational activities. So
I'll have to. Well, I'll tell a friend, and maybe they'll try it.
yes.
Speaking of just, well, to me, it's unhinged. That's the word for it. Unhinged behavior, JR. She does it time and time again, proudly. She's loud with it, back arched. Marjorie Taylor Greene and others spread crazy theories on Hurricane Helene. Is she a meteorologist? What's going on here? I'll tell you. In the wake of over 200 deaths after Hurricane Helene, Marjorie Taylor Greene weighed in. Here we go. Get you the AccuWeather report, huh? Here's what she posted to Twitter. Yes, they can control the weather. It's ridiculous for anyone to lie and say it can't be done. The hell is she talking about? That's not what I grew up watching. The Weather Channel, AccuWeather. Greene additionally posted a map of the areas that were most impacted by the hurricane, overlaid with an electoral. I used to think someone's been zapped. I think someone put their finger in the socket, but it's electoral map organized by political party. This is like when Trump drew that map. Remember, he drew that goofy map sitting in the Oval Office? The Post reads, this is a map of hurricane-affected areas with an overlay of electoral map by political party, shows how hurricane devastation could affect the election. Following the election to Congress in 2020, Greene received criticism over previous comments she had made, suggesting the wildfires in California had been started by space lasers connected to the wealthy Rothschild family. So this is what we're doing here.
I'm curious, how does the overlay, just I guess any clarification, because I've been looking at this ever since we first approached this story. How does the overlay affect
well, she's
areas?
saying, and now you're requiring of me to get inside the head of Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, but I believe what she's saying is it's going to affect Republicans more than Democrats. This weather that can be controlled. And so right before election, they'll probably get, Fauci and a group of other people. He's a scientist too. Probably get some meteorologists, and the Democrats will hit this button. And apparently it will make it more difficult to vote in these red states because of weather events. That's my best guess. Okay. It doesn't end there, though. Conspiracy theories about Hurricane Helene are going viral now on TikTok. So let's play it.
That one of the areas affected by Hurricane Helene is the world's largest lithium deposit, and the DoD just entered into an agreement with this company right here to mine lithium for electric cars starting in 2025. Now that area is completely devastated. This is a $90 million agreement between the DoD and this company right here to get Kings Mountain, North Carolina lithium mine up and running by 2030. If that area has been inundated, is in a disaster zone, then the government can come in and do eminent domain, and they can pay you what it was worth 5 years ago rather than what it's worth right now.
If I didn't know any better, I believe she has a chip in her, and there is someone with a remote control behind the scenes. I would think she's got a chip in her. And that's just my thought, my opinion. Don't sue the network. I have no money either. But another post with over 119,000 views claimed that the hurricane was a weather-modified storm to displace the residents of Western North Carolina. So a land grab can take place.
Okay.
Another video featuring
there's
AI.
more?
There's more. There's more because, as I said, these people, they multiply and then they hover together and they have online chats and things, and it just gets out of control. This one's an AI-generated image of Trump wading through flood waters, circulating with text reading, "This is our president right here." The video has over 2.8 million views. The image originally circulated on Meta was debunked by PolitiFact. Now, why would anyone need to go to PolitiFact, or what's that other one that tells you if it's real or not? Snopes?
Snopes, I believe.
Who really thought that was Trump? Okay, or Melania. Remember, she had that jacket that said, "I don't really care." Do you? Why would we need to debunk it at all? But this is what people, I call it willful consumption of disinformation. People people rather enjoy this stuff, like others maybe like Star Trek or a Marvel movie. This is their wheelhouse.
Can I start with the last one? I refuse to believe people believe that that's a real picture of Donald Trump wading through some floodwaters. I don't know what they say he's doing there, but again, a lot of times when you, I can't see it that closely, but just zoom in on hands when it comes to AI generated. I know it's rapidly getting more and more, precise and accurate looking and all that stuff. But you start with the hands, then you go to like small details of body parts, like ears, nose, hands. Things like that always are a little bit off. Sometimes someone have 3 fingers and there are 6, all that type of stuff. So it's probably there right in front of your face. But this is one of those willful ignorance things. They want to believe that Donald Trump is wading through water. When after, again, one of those assassination attempts on him, one of his supporters was killed that day. And he's making jokes about it on the campaign trail now. Why would we believe that the guy who's making jokes about the supporter that died, it was such a supporter that his wife later said, I couldn't take any calls from Joe Biden because I know his wishes would be that I don't. That's how adamant of a supporter he was of his. Why would we believe that the fact that he cares so little about that guy who died at his rally would be out in floodwaters, wading through them as if he even has the ability to do so and lift and encourage and drive people out of those areas? When, of course, he goes on TV, stands in front of podiums, puts a microphone in front of his face and talks about how things are being delivered in certain areas different than mine. That's where we get this connection. That's why Marjorie Taylor Greene said this. That's why Marjorie Taylor Greene had a fight with Laura Loomer, because she was #1 Trump advocate next to him to push these crazy conspiracies. That's why she's upset about it. So she's trying to wiggle her way back into the best graces in case she's worried about her maybe falling from a little bit of grace. And they use qualifiers like, anyone with a brain would know this. You know it. I know it. The American people know it. They'll say things like that. And for some reason it works on people who, rather than hearing those are very manipulative phrases, going, well, I don't know that. My brain tells me that that's some BS. I don't know why people can't do that anymore. I don't know if we're overwhelmed with work and worried about money and kids and education and food and whatever else we're all concerned with, but we just don't think anymore. The first level of critical thinking, you don't have to go and research what's going on with the hurricane to know that it's pretty damn hard to affect Republican areas versus Democratic areas. Because just think about your general community. Do you think that everyone in your entire city, town, village is the same voter? Do you think everyone is 100% of them, to where you can differentiate between I'm gonna divvy up some resources here, not do it here, and then draw the line at that fence line? It doesn't make any sense. Again, it goes back to the same question. When someone runs to you with this type of stuff, be like, oh, really? How did they stop the line of support and help for certain people based off of voting areas and then stop helping those folks? Or how is it that they're gonna pull up these deposits of whatever kind of mineral they need to mine in order to push more of these electric cars, and they're not doing it to any Democratic or independent voters? Because they know everybody, which many of them don't vote, with the way that they vote, and they make their decisions based off of it.
There you go. You're trying to make too much sense. And not everybody wants to make sense. You know, there are people still displaced from Hurricane Katrina. How would she explain that? Okay.
Was George W. Bush targeting those folks?
Now, is that what you're trying to say here? It's to the point with Marjorie, and I used to think it was a game that she was playing. I now believe that she is this daft and nutty. If she showed up at my doorstep right now, I probably would invite her in, and I wouldn't have any discussion with her. I would just have her lay down and give her a warm blanket, maybe a hot toddy, and let her sleep it off, because there's no need for us to even have a discussion. There, dear, you just sleep it off.
I enjoy hot toddies.
That's what needs to happen, because this is America. Look at your life. This is indisputable. Dr. Rashad Ritchie, he has the day off. J.R. Jackson, he took time out of his busy day, his work on the watch list, to join us as a special guest co-host. I'm Sharon Reed. Much more to come.
magic. It's showtime. And say 45 minutes. I'm hosting today. Now I know what you're thinking, Jerry, your face is already perfect, but you know what? I still need to apply some makeup. I went through this process, right? A few years ago when I realized that I was gonna have to wear makeup on the show. I had to go through like finding out what my undertones were. You guys know what those are? I got my MAC Cosmetics. It says SPF 15 foundation, broad spectrum. But apparently when I have is red undertones, and I think pores are not supposed to be seen. I need all these things to be confirmed for me. These sponge things don't work for me. You gotta use your hands. At least I do. That's how the magic really happens. So we're gonna go through a tutorial how to make the magic happen from beautiful to beautifuler. Let's go. I've already been moisturized. That's the first thing. But moisturization already happened. We go raw. All hands. Pick up a couple streaks. This is the guy way of putting on makeup. We got dots. There's some shiny points that generally happen. First of all, here we go. You dust here. I'm putting way too much, but you dust. Oh, get the excess off. You don't want chunky powder. There's like a T-zone, I think, right? Mine is a double T-zone. Because I went middle and another cross. Make sure your nose isn't all shiny. People get on you for it. They'll say, that's not a good point you made on there, JR. Your nose is shiny. You guys are picky like that sometimes. I think that's about it, fellas and ladies. See you guys next time. Bitsies.
Welcome back to Indisputable. Dr. Rashad Ritchie. Doc is off today. J.R. Jackson joins us as our special guest co-host. The Watch List is JR's show. We love it. Let's see. Let's get to some of your comments here. Okay. Well, about Marjorie Taylor Greene, Dex puts it simply, when the adult in the room ain't an adult. And that's really it. Okay. When my daughter was, oh gosh, much, much younger, she's 12 now, she would say silly things like this. And I discovered early on that I'm a fool if I argue with her and try to set her straight. She's 4, okay? So if you want to believe that someone can wave a magic wand and make it rain just over our house, then I let her believe it for a minute. She'll go to school, get an education, and by the time she gets to be, you know, someone who takes a trip to DC and does CrossFit on the weekend, she should know better, okay? Hello and happy Friday, all you beautiful people. YouTube, that's from Dana Manning, right back at you. G. Martinez Mac, JR is the Watch List MVP. He is the GOAT. Mosquito Bite says, maybe Doc should have a garbage person of the week like the Dragons have. I'm all for it. One more for you about John Amos and his family, kind of upset with what's going on. Disconnect between brother and sister. Dad dies. They don't notify people for 6 weeks. John Amos, what can we do to stop the human rights violations of situations like the documentary I Care a Lot? That's a question. Okay, so let's get to this next one and see what you think about it. NYPD cops try to shake down a Brooklyn bar owner. Here we go. Let's show you a video of one of the incidents.
No, don't say this. What you just did. You did all that for a reason. You busted my store for a reason. You grabbed my equipment because what? I opened your door. No, you bust through my door and you grabbed my equipment because of why? Your door. You bust through my door with your flashlight and grabbed my equipment because of why? No one busted. Yes, you did. I have you on camera. You bust through my door.
Welcome to the Big Apple, folks. Welcome to the Big Apple. It's a different kind of policing. On this day, Shamel Kelly, the former Brooklyn bar owner, whistleblower on an alleged NYPD corruption ring, had one question Tuesday as his legal team announced plans to sue the city. How deep does it go? That's a good question. The "it" refers to the scandal involving the twin brother of former police commissioner Edward Caban. James Caban allegedly shook down Kelly, whose Juice and More bar in Coney Island had been subjected to police raids on a near weekly basis. Do you see why I keep, in so many of these stories, using the word mafiosa? Who behaves like this? Does it remind you of anything? Attorney Bernadette Vinalon, who is also representing Kelly, accused cops of performing illegal searches and seizures throughout a mob-like shakedown. All to pocket some cash, calling it a pay-to-play operation. He encountered so much harassment, illegal searches, and it only ramped up more when Mr. Kelly refused to pay the $2,500 to Mr. Caban. Villalon said, got so bad to the point that Mr. Kelly was forced to close down that very business that he worked so hard to open, leaving him with no business. Wow. Legal team provided videos to the media that shows an army of police officers entering the business, shutting it down on several occasions, and even making arrests. I was visited over, I would say, a 6-month span every week on Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays when I was open. Kelly told reporters outside City Hall October 1st, I knew something was off because our establishment never had issues. We never had any fights. We never had any crimes, anything going in my space, and it was just excessive police force. AM New York with the details. Kelly alleges that Ray Martin, former associate director for Mayor Eric Adams' Office of Entertainment and Nightlife, told him the frequent raids from the 60th precinct would disappear if he paid James Caban a fee. Both Martin and Edward Caban have since resigned since news of the scandal broke. Now, Mayor Adams, he was indicted, right? He's under indictment, innocent till proven guilty. Believe us all that. Bunch of people standing on, he gave a little press conference. He got shouted down by hecklers, but that Mayor Adams. But anyway, Kelly, alongside his attorneys during the press conference, told reporters that he was cooperating with federal investigators, has shared video material with them, and wants to see how far up the food chain the commands went and if they touched two city officials like the mayor, who was indicted last week on unrelated bribery and corruption charges. Civil rights attorney Harry Daniels, who is also representing Kelly, he said he's looking to answer Kelly's question of how far the alleged scheme involving the former commissioner's brother went at the NYPD and potentially at City Hall. Make no mistake about it, I would have brought a lawsuit today, but it goes so deep that we have to continue to do our investigation and continue to dig and find out how deep it goes. Every time we get ready to bring a suit, we find out something else, Daniel said. We want to get all the actors, all the people, the corrupt people involved in this suit. Yes, Attorney Daniels, you might be looking a long time. You might need a ream of legal pads. Just get them in bulk at Costco or something, because this is going to be a lot here. Any surprise, this allegation here, JR?
I don't think even the people that would support them had any surprise about this. You know, we just talked earlier about police officers and cover-ups and murders of people in the street, and how many times, I think I saw someone comment and say, many times these officers move on to another precinct the next town over, if those few instances when they do get fired. But this is one of those few professions where you can do that. Just always use Subway or McDonald's as the example. But if they catch you stealing some fries or handing them to your friends for free from McDonald's, and you're just a minimum wage McDonald's worker, they fire you. And then what you probably can't do, I've never experienced this situation, so maybe you can, but I get the feeling that if you go down the street and try and apply at Burger King, and then they ask you for your references, you say, yeah, I worked at McDonald's down the street, and they call them and say, yeah, we fired him because he stole fries and gave them to his friends. I have this weird suspicion that you're not going to get hired at the Burger King because they're going to go, he likes to steal fries. We don't like losing fries, even if they're $2.50. So, but in this case, isn't that normal to think if you encourage criminal behavior because you go into the profession of police work, maybe people, because we're all just citizens until we take that job and then put the utility belt on with guns and batons and all that. If you then go do that, maybe you might attract people who like the idea of having immunity from the crimes that they like to commit. It might attract people that think, yo, I can shake down business owners and not have to worry about it because our system of justice is set up for me to do whatever the hell I want. Why do we think that if we deter crime by killing people with the death penalty, put them in jail for 20 years for marijuana possession, why do we think that's a crime deterrent, but we don't think it's encouraging if you tell them they can come and do crimes? It doesn't really make any sense. All the way up to, and I hate to include him every time, but this guy's trying to run to be the president of the United States again, all the way up to the guy who says, I want complete law enforcement immunity so that they can do their jobs without worrying about being fired. So if I'm a criminal, I'm going to think, yo, that's a good job to have. I can do whatever the hell I want. Why isn't that the same thought process? I think because we've been encouraged to believe that they won't do anything, even though we see them do it in front of our faces all the time.
Well, that dear leader who wants to do it again at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, JR, told people, don't believe anything you see or hear, only believe me. Only believe me. So let's go to Texas. Texas town's first Black manager suspended over, got me choked up on this. I guess it's spelled correctly. A pole dancing video. Oh, well, let's see. Dayton City Manager Kimberly Judge, the first woman and Black person to serve as city manager, has been suspended after a 1-second video of her dancing circulated. Must have been a great clip. 1 second? What on earth? Now, some online, we should tell you, and in the town are urging for her resignation. Others are calling for people to lighten up. Pole dance controversy follows a racial and sexual discrimination complaint the judge recently filed against several council members, which is now under investigation by an independent agency. Dayton City Manager Kimberly Judge, the first woman, Black person to serve as city manager, issued a statement defending her record and denouncing the video's release as part of a low-level smear campaign, while urging the community to see through what she described as a false narrative. Lana Blackstar with the details on this one. Following the release of the viral footage, the Dayton City Council held a special session on Monday night where they voted to place Judge on administrative leave while they consider whether she will keep her job. During an emotional meeting to address the matter publicly for the first time, the council launched an investigation into the backstory of the video, including the time and place it was filmed and the circumstances surrounding what many were calling a big nothing burger. It's been insinuated it was on a trip for a city function, but again, there's no context on the video. Dayton resident and former city council member Cheryl Olson said, according to KHOU 11, she has fulfilled her obligations of her position. We need to let her do her job. Situation involving Judge has divided the council and escalated tensions, with some members questioning the need for such a swift and severe response. It's really and truly scapegoating, member Rhonda Johnson said. Others dismissed the video, arguing Judge's actions were not as egregious as portrayed. If that's the biggest skeleton in her closet, then we're all screwed, Courtney Wheeler said, according to the station. It's unfortunate that the CEO, city manager of the city of Dayton, Texas, where acts and represents the city in such a way, wrote the person claiming to be Brad Noel, What is worse is that it is an event all other cities are at for networking. The TML paid for by the taxpayers shows a complete lack of judgment and decorum from some that it is in a leadership position.
Really fast, can I?
Yeah,
Because there's
jump
details
in,
about her.
because this is like a PTA parents or something. I can't.
It's obvious that there's other factors or there's other things that this is obviously supposed to be used for another issue. So again, I guess maybe we don't have the details in front of us, but maybe they revealed to folks that they're trying to appeal to. What is it that this have to do with her job?
Thank you.
It's the simple questions: who, what, when, where, why, and how. So why does she need to be fired? What about this interferes with her duties? A city sponsored trip, and who knows, maybe she's in a hotel, an Airbnb. Again, what does that have to do with it? Was it at a city meeting? Was it at an official Zoom meeting that had to do with city work? Or is she a human being that can do whatever the hell she wants? I'll go back to the cops and anyone else that's maybe an official that's sponsored by the government. Do they get to go home and do whatever the hell they want? And are they kicked out and done for later? Because they do things while they're on the clock, and then they can apparently keep their jobs. They do things that assault folks during their work hours. That's a problem. But if someone dances, that egregious thing, dancing, I guess it was suggestive. If they do that, what does that do to your life? I'll go back to all the complaints people have. How does that change whatever work she may doing to help your life be more fulfilled? We talk about education, grocery prices, inflation. I know she's not in control of those things, but since that's what we're complaining about, what part about this makes your life worse? Or could you think for a second and a half and go, oh, and then go back to your life? Just wondering. It's a simple move you could make.
This is like the same people. I call them PTA, JR, because these are the same people who were demanding that teachers a couple of decades ago resign when they're pregnant. You married teachers too, as if it matters, because kids can't see you with child. Again, this is just too much. You got to go.
Wait, they did that?
Oh yeah, my mother had to resign her position. She had to resign. She lost pension, tenure, all these things because women could not be with child. Isn't that stupid?
Spoils them or something.
I said, y'all should have hit him with a class action lawsuit. But who did that affect? The women. Last time I checked, y'all had to participate. But anyway. Okay, let's give you this one. Another Republican politician busted for wearing blackface. You just want it so bad. Okay. Let's give you the video. Congressman apologizing on CNN. Yawn.
New York Times reports that Mike Lawler, dressed as Michael Jackson, when Lawler was 20 years old and a college student.
Obviously, I can't change what happened 18 years ago. But I certainly, with wisdom and age, understand that is not something I would do today. And certainly understand why people would be upset or offended by it. And for that, I'm sorry. But, for me, there was no ill intent. There was no effort to malign or make fun of or disparage Black Americans. It was really an effort to pay homage to somebody who was a musical idol for me. I've always loved Michael Jackson's music and his dance moves and his ability to entertain. This was really not, what I think could truly be construed as blackface. But I certainly understand why people would be offended by it, and for that, I'm sorry.
Well, I heard him say I'm sorry 2 times, but it was all the filler words that made me want to just douse him with water. You know that show where a bucket of water would just come down on you and just douse you and you'd look crazy? That's what I think he deserved in that interview, was foolishness. Representative Mike Lawler out of New York apologizing on CNN for wearing blackface. It was blackface. Representative. Halloween party. He claimed the stunt was an attempt to pay homage to Michael Jackson. We got to talk about that. After Caitlin Collins asked, do you ever think it's okay for a white person to put on blackface? Lawler replied, no, of course not. And in this instance, as I said to the New York Times, I had used a friend's bronzer. But again, obviously 18 years later, excuse, I certainly reflect upon and understand how that can be construed, he argued. But I think there is a stark difference between dressing up for Halloween and paying homage to somebody you like, respect, versus dressing up in blackface to demean and dehumanize Black people, which is what minstrel shows in blackface historically was about. That's obviously not what I was doing there. Lawler's apology was a lot better than that of Counselor Ian Ward's. I think they both stink. Who dressed up, well, he claimed it's 50 Cent. 50 Cent ain't never looked like that. Okay? And he's a New York fan. So what is you talking about? Just look at the both of them, and they should be forever linked. Here's what Ward said to defend himself. Ward has been outspoken in his support of Israel since the October 7 Hamas attack last year, and in one deleted apology, he pointed the finger at anti-Semitic, anti-law enforcement, leftist extremists led by a local failed musician. After stating he reported the alleged hack to police, he launched into an apology, admitting the photo was, quote, embarrassing. I offer no defense other than to say that times change, people change. Blah, 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 nothing to see here. Well, I added the blah, blah, blah part before I throw it to you, JR. Our Blackness, I heard a commentator say this because I was kind of just minding my own business. TV was on in the background and this story came up. And I agree with the commentator. First, I was thinking, well, just a dummy. He was a young person, dummy, all these years ago.
Yeah.
Until the commentator said, my Blackness is not a costume, and you put thought into this. And then he goes on to say, ill intent, none, paying homage. Who says that intent has to be part of this infraction? Maybe you just don't have good judgment. Maybe you do, maybe you've learned. But because I found the apology so disgraceful, he had so many yeah, but, comma, semicolon in there. I don't think he's sorry at all. I'm sick of him. And even if it was a mistake, sometimes you got to pay for mistakes. And I'm just getting a little tired of this. Okay, Megyn Kelly said it's okay, JR. It's not.
Yeah, come on. Okay. By the way, I felt a little more lenient on, at least not our guy that thinks that's 50 Cent. From Lawler, who I haven't agreed much of anything that Mike Lawler says. But there comes a point, I would think. This is for our lack of education about what our country actually was, and has been through. So if you don't know why throwing on some black makeup and saying you're a black guy is a problem, especially because of course, obviously Halloween's coming. People used to dress up as geishas and samurais and all that stuff, and then they'll put on makeup or maybe wear they think it's a costume, and there's offensiveness there too. Native American folks, indigenous folks, and that all happens. We have a distinct, direct history with minstrel shows in this country and how people made money off the backs of the existence of Black folks to make fun of, and this is the main part about this, make other folks who had never met, encountered a Black person think this is how they act. And that leads to disruptive behavior, violent behavior, lack of opportunity, since we're the land of opportunity. All those things are born off of what they saw as a comical show to demean an entire group of people that had been enslaved in this country. So if that's been the legacy of it, you might want to cut it off. That's the main purpose. Not because we don't want you to dress up like Michael Jackson and 50 Cent, but because you don't understand what it is that you're generating, what kind of energy you're celebrating. That's what it is. And if you did it when you were 20 and now you figured it out, okay, just say that. That's all. That's all, because we know Mike Lawler's not going to get kicked out of Congress. We know this other guys, they never go anywhere. In fact, sometimes they get promoted based off of it. So we know that's not going to happen. But if you actually care, just give that bit of understanding. And if you don't know, like Megyn Kelly said she didn't know, there's this weird thing you can do. Listen to the people that said, yo, this is offensive. This is why you shouldn't do it. Instead of going, oh, nah.
Yeah, don't double down on it. And guess what? There's certain things and lessons you do need to know. I see people putting swastikas and being really disgusting and dressing up like Hitler. But I believe they know better. Okay? It's wrong. It's sick. Why would you dress up like that? Why would you put this symbol of hate out there? This is not okay. And I think I would be easier on the representative if he would have just come on the screen and said, I am disgusted that was what I did 18 years ago. There's no excuse for it. Blackness is not a costume. Next question. What could you really say? Just leave it at that. Instead of all this, yeah, but why are you doing that? You're paying homage to Michael Jackson? You didn't do that. You beat it. JR, tell people where they can find your great work. I missed you. You're just terrific.
There's a watch list.
The LA Dodgers hat.
But the thing is we welcome in all folks. It's a big tent. That's Dodgers. We're gonna start dismantling the Padres this weekend. But the watch list TYT. I don't know if you guys have noticed, it's not live, but we still do. We put up clips each day. We break down things that are going on in the political world. I want to do more society stuff, but as we go through this political run and this election, we're focusing a lot on things that are going on between this presidential race, many times also congressmen, senators, but we break it down in ways where the videos drive it because it is the watch list. I just help assist it by giving you guys a couple of thoughts here and there. But check us out, man. We post daily.
It's excellent.
Still over
and
on
I
YouTube
find
and all the
myself,
socials.
well, it's excellent. I get hypnotized by the green little laser and the blue laser that comes up behind you. Not in the Marjorie Taylor Greene kind of way. Okay. But it's a fantastic graphic. It's a fantastic show. And I look forward to your clips. So thank you. And thank you.
I appreciate you, Sharon. Good to see you.
It's great to see you too, for being our special guest co-host today. And thanks, Doc, for letting us fill the chair, attempt it. We appreciate it. This is Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Ritchie. We hope you'll join us again.